Hello everybody, it's Brian here in Toronto, and as you can see, it's snowed here for the first time. First time this season, really. I'm a little disappointed by that. We escaped snow in the fall and early winter, didn't have snow at Christmas. I guess I should say that as a kid, I loved snow. I used to love tobogganing, snowball fights. I took up skiing at some point, both cross country and downhill. I really enjoyed that. But I guess as I get older, I'm a little crankier and would rather stay inside. But the kids love it, especially when it's what we call packing snow. They can make snowballs, that kind of thing. But enough of that, enough of snow. It's partway through January, and I have my first video related to things I have purchased. Now, the theme today, and there is one, is Constellation Records out of Montreal, a record label I've mentioned before because they are a fabulous label. I've loved pretty much everything they've released. And at the end of last year, they had a sale. Certain records in their catalog were on sale for half price, and the shipping deal was really spectacular. So I bought a few things there, and I also grabbed a couple other Constellation records at a local store. So everything today is Constellation. So let's start with this one. It's a band, well, I'm saying band loosely. It's Joyful Talk. You can see it there, run together, Joyful Talk, A Separation of Being. It's really one guy named Jay Crocker. He's a multi-instrumentalist. He's a multimedia artist. I believe he did the cover design here. And it says, in fact, written, arranged, and performed by Jay Crocker, recorded and mixed by Jay Crocker at the Prism Ship in Crosstown, Nova Scotia. Strings performed and recorded by Jesse Zubot at the Deep Bay Bunker. There's only 3 tracks on here, 2 on side A, 1 on side B, and they're called Part 1, Part 2, Part 3 with subtitles. So Part 1, I've got that trans-dimensional feeling again, 7 minutes and 43 seconds. You've got Part 2, Pixelated Skin, 8 minutes and 49 seconds. And Part 3 on side 2 is Liquefied, Then Evaporated, so only 1 track on side 2. And I guess you'd call this experimental. It's electronic. Can you get a piece of art out here? There's a piece of artwork in here which matches the album cover design. And pretty nice looking labels. So you can see there's track 1 on side 2 and the other 2 tracks here. So experimental for sure. Now, one of the interesting things about Constellation for me is that the music is often experimental or avant-garde or, other words that might describe, sometimes electronic. But they do really interesting hype stickers. So it says it's based on a monumental kaleidoscopic graphic score of visualized composition using his planetary music system. So his planetary music system was a conceptual scoring methodology that he used. I don't really understand what it is or never investigated it, but that's what it's called. Arcs of polyrhythmic groove and new minimalism unfurl with spellbinding propulsion the motoric sonics of Crocker's homemade electronic instruments and analog clockworks anchor string arrangements performed by Jesse Zubot, blah, blah, blah. Systems music for the head and heart, flowing with mantric circulatory energies, gyrating melodic rondos, and sonic pointillism. I'm not quite sure what that all means, but I do know I've been listening to minimalism for 25 years, maybe longer, and I don't know what new minimalism is, but I guess I should look that up. But all in all, though, this is a really engaging record. I find it quite good. Now, you have to be kind of in the mood for that if you're not familiar with this music, because it is, it doesn't have, most of these records don't have like a verse, chorus, verse. In fact, most of these don't have any words at all, but so it's kind of angular. It takes you on a trip. It's not really obvious where it's going, but really engaging. Second record is a band that I really love, one of my favorite bands. And I've had this compact disc since 2009 when it came out, but never bought the album for some reason. It's the band's 6th record from Do Make Say Think. They're from Toronto, so everyone else except for Do Make Say Think in this batch are from Montreal, but this is a Toronto band. This is their 6th record from 2009, as I mentioned. There's 4 tracks on here, and the tracks are called Do, Make, Say, and Think. I read somewhere that it was the band considered this to be the ultimate distillation of their musical message, and weirdly they didn't make another record for 8 years after this, so maybe they thought they were finished or something. But here is the Do Make on one side, Say Think on the other truths, and there's a piece of art in here, as is the case with many Constellation records. It's often usually download code and sometimes art, so this is just a small piece of art with information about the album here. Really like it. They're, I guess you'd say, post-rock for sure. Post-rock, shoegaze, experimental music. All those tracks are 3 or over 10 minutes. One is just under 10 minutes, so quite lengthy tracks. Now, one thing I've always loved about that band is their use of guitar. I think it's really interesting, although there's other instruments, of course. Very interesting musical harmonies and melody and polyrhythm, so a really interesting band. So they kind of went away for 8 years, and then they came back with their 7th record in 2017. And this is one I didn't have. I kept seeing it in stores, but I just didn't buy it, weirdly, even though I love the band. But I did buy it recently. This is the album jacket. Sort of wildlife theme, and make of this what you will on the inside. I don't know, is it like... I thought of Hitchcock when I first saw it, but interesting. Again, first in 8 years, more instrumental music. The first track on side A, if you know anything about the band, when you hear it, you're going to think, that sounds like Do Make Say Think. The other parts of the record are not maybe so obviously Do Make Say Think, but I think it all works together. Really uplifting music, if you ask me. There's one of the inners for this. You're never going to be able to read that, but that's the inside. There is the album artwork on a piece of art, or fold out here. And there's 2 records in here. So there's this, inner sleeves on a paper inner sleeve. And labels look something like this with I guess that's a bird theme running through this. So, did I tell you the name of this? Stubborn Persistent Illusions. Maybe I forgot to say that. The other inner is like this. More birds and whatnot. So Stubborn Persistent Illusions from Do Make Say Think, 2017. Really enjoyable record. I love it. I think it's really good. Why did I wait so long to buy it? I don't know. So, all right. So that's that. They often have these nice little sleeves with the Constellation sticker there. Next is a strange band called Avec le soleil sortant de sa bouche, which means with the sun coming out of his mouth. This band's first record from 2014, and that's the name of the band, believe it or not. And the album's called Zuber Dust with an exclamation point at the end. This is the back of the record jacket. It has members of Fly Pan Am, Set Fire to Flames, and Molasses. Again, more bands from the Constellation stable of artists. There's a download code in here. A couple inserts. This is one insert with information of the band. All the band members are listed here. There's 4 guys and other participants. And then there's this piece of art. Which is cool. And then a polyline sleeve with nice looking labels. So lengthy tracks once again. And again, in the experimental, post-rock, of course, experimental krautrock. Someone described this as Afro kraut, which I find interesting. Now, I went on, I think I looked at Bandcamp to see how they describe themselves, and it said a Montreal kraut funk quartet that delivers irresistible and levitational live sets, combining a contemporary avant-garde sensibility with infectiously angular, rubbery grooves. Now, this is the first record. I think they did one more, and I think they were done after that. They display a panoply of buoyant musical ideas, subtly sumptuous sonic treatments, and joyous stylistic nods while remaining fundamentally devoted to working the groove. This is postmodern psychedelic trance pop. And then it said, there's certainly art rockers, but amid the krautrock drones are some enchanting grooves, unique melodies, and tight, fiery musicianship. With their subtle electronic textures and quirky riffs, they're as engaging on headphones as they are blasted through the hi-fi, and their mix of tough and clever make them the most unusual of party bands. Make of that what you will. I enjoyed. I've listened to that, I think, twice, and I thought it was really good. Here's another area where I'm, again, I don't like to duplicate CDs on vinyl and vice versa, but I've already done that in the case of the first Do Make Say Think record, and I did it again with Fly Pan Am, also known as Le Fly Pan Am, and I bought this ages ago, probably 20 years ago. It came out in 2002, and another really interesting noise experimental avant-garde band out of Montreal. There's the title. I won't read it in French, but it means Those Who Invent Never Lived. This is their second full-length record. Again, from Montreal. They started in 1996, I believe. There's a download card in here, and then this is the inner sleeve. Very simple labels. Really catchy. Well, catchy is not really the right word. I mentioned in a previous video that I encouraged a friend of mine to listen to this and he couldn't get through it. So they used to play a lot of concerts with Godspeed You Black Emperor and the Shalabi Effect and people like that. But again, I think I got this from Bandcamp. Twin influences of French pop and krautrock, as well as forward-looking experimentalism guided by an unshakable faith in the unfulfilled possibilities of minimalism and music concrete and punk rock. Does that make sense? I don't know. Drumming, interweaving guitars. I find them fascinating. I think they're really cool. In some respects, I like them a bit more than Godspeed You Black Emperor, if you can believe it. Now, here's an interesting band. This one is one this escaped me. I never had the CD or the vinyl for this. This is from Silver Mount Zion. Now, a Silver Mount Zion, they have many names. So I think this is actually credited to ASMZ. It's really a Silver Mount Zion, but they went through several name changes. They seem to use a different name every time. So you might have heard them as the ASZM, the Silver Mount Zion Memorial Orchestra, a Silver Mount Zion, the Silver Mount Zion Memorial Orchestra and Tralala Band, the Silver Mount Zion Memorial Orchestra and Tralala Band with choir, or the Silver Mountain Reveries, as in one case. So really weird. So this is their first record from 2000, and it's called He Has Left Us Alone, But Shafts of Light Sometimes Grace the Corners of Our Rooms. It's kind of a hypnotic album, kind of sad in a way. Really interesting use of guitars and strings. The insert. And one thing I find curious, and I've never checked this out, but look, all the song lengths round out to even numbers. So we have 9 minutes exactly, 5 minutes, 6, 3, 4, 4, 11, and 3. I can't believe that that's actually true. Should investigate that. And inside, this one I should change the sleeve on. It's really tight. Anyway, interesting band, which I think are really fantastic. And that, for some reason, I guess I just never saw it in the store. Never got it. But great album design. I think Constellation does really excellent work with album design and artwork. And I think this is really cool. So a really interesting record. Now here's another one from the same band, which I have on CD, but got on vinyl because it was cheap. And double album containing the best ruled paper special notebook. This is credited to the Silver Mount Zion Memorial Orchestra and Tralala Band and Choir. This is our punk rock. The Rusted Satellites Gather and Sing, comma. And this is the inside. And it has this book that's kind of stitched in here, which I'll go through. It has some musical notation, some photography, some things that might not make sense. Pretty cool, right? Again, another band from Montreal, which I think are fantastic. And this has 2 records inside, polyline sleeves. That's one. I don't know if I'll show you the other, but that's the kind of, you get the idea. It's funny, I was looking at Discogs when I added it to Discogs, and I noticed that somebody named, what's his name? Euphonics added a comment about this record, which I will mention, but the album in Wikipedia was noted as being a requiem for open and abandoned spaces in Montreal. Interesting. But loss and decay in urban environments and also military action. So here's what this guy wrote. And I'm sort of jealous of people who can write reviews like this because I don't know if I'm capable of it. He sounds like he should be employed as a guy that writes hype stickers. This is what this guy wrote. And I Googled it to find out if he had copied it for somewhere. And I think this is the only, as far as I could tell, this is the original statement. A monument, a symphony for the oppressed, an ode to disarray, a reminder of how small bands of dedicated tribal peoples have always persevered in the face of annihilation, a musical soundtrack to the tranquilizing pain of watching society crumble. and the brilliant peace that lies on the other side of the post-capitalist Armageddon. The sonic equivalent of a billion tiny screams of despair, while the egalitarian struggle patiently awaits Gottendammerung. That's a German word which I don't know. If a Howard Zinn or a Derek Jensen book could be encapsulated in a song, this is what it would sound like. The album is all of these things and more. It's a real trip and a real achievement. A friend gave me these MP3s when I was a sophomore in high school. I've probably never been the same since. So I give him like applause for that because it sounds really interesting. Now the last one, I don't know, how many do I have here? This is probably number 8, I guess. Did I miss one? 8? Maybe number 8. I might have missed one in the pile, but I will see if that's true for the next video. But number 8 is from a band called Hiss Tracks. No, I think this is it. I think it's 8 in total. Hiss Tracks. Tracts. This is the only record they did, and it came out in 2014, called Shortwave Nights, which you can see on the spine, but nowhere else. Love the album design on this. I think it's pretty cool. Another noise experimental post-rock ambient kind of record featuring the guitarist from Godspeed You Black Emperor and a guy who was in a band called Growing. Ambient soundscapes really might be the best way to describe it, but it's a little bit more than that. And again, I've only heard this once, so I'm still getting accustomed to it, but it has inside some notes. So we have this. This is art from the album, Shortwave Tracks. And then this piece of paper, which is black on one side. Here's the other side. And so there's one other thing in here which I will dig out, referenced here, this piece of film. So David Bryant, as I mentioned, the guitar player from Godspeed, Kevin Doria, who's in 2 other bands, and then there's some other people who show up to help them out, and I don't know exactly where everyone is from. And someone's credited as being the 16mm film projector. So, recorded in Montreal. Now, there's one other thing here. Oh, here it is. Download code, and then there's a piece of 16mm film, just a little snippet, and I'm assuming that every individual record got a piece of this film, and I don't know what it is exactly, but there it is, which is a curious thing to add. But another interesting thing about Constellation is they always seem to have really nice inserts, and if there's one particular Godspeed You Black Emperor release that has a crushed penny that they put on a train track, and I used to do that as a kid. We'd put them on the train tracks and the train would crush it. You have this crushed penny. They included that in one of the records, which I thought was really kind of cool. So that's interesting. Hopefully it doesn't, I guess it might fall on the floor someday and someone will vacuum it up and I'll be missing it, but that's kind of cool. So thanks for watching. I think that was 8 records, and I think that is everything I bought from Constellation. So I think 7 from the sale and 1 from the store, if I got that right. And I do have a couple other things I got in the thrift shop, but I'm going to leave those for another video. So thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.